Hey baby, what you no good? I'm just getting back, but you knew I would. War's hell, when will it end? When will people start getting together again? Are things really getting better, like the newspaper said? What else is new, my friend, besides where I've been? Can't find no work, can't find no job, my friend. Money is tighter than it's ever been. If you tell me, friend, I can't understand what's going on across this land. Oh, what's happening, brother?
Hello, everyone. Everyone who's listening to this.
We're here for the Acrophase Records Show.
This is episode 2.
We have Blake Ruby in the room, one of our newest artists, and someone we're really excited to talk to and introduce you guys to today.
What's up?
Say hi to the people, Blake.
Hello, people. Hello, podcast people. I've never been a podcast person. I've never really
Listened a lot.
been a podcast guy.
It comes with age, I think.
Yeah.
Once you
have to
get
be
more
old.
mature,
Yeah.
Once you run out of things to talk
We're
about,
2
you're
years older than
I
you.
listen to
We're-
podcasts. Once you get really into NPR for no real reason.
Yeah. But I guess the most proper way to do this is to let you give us a little introduction as to who you are, and maybe a little bit of background on Blake Ruby as an artist, and then how we've ended up working together.
So, I've been doing music stuff since I was little in my church back home. Since I was about 4 or 5, starting to sing in the children's choirs and then playing drums in the music team and stuff. Because it's my grandparents' church in Reisterstown in Maryland. And so that was kind of my first musical outlet. My grandparents really encouraged the music thing, and my parents did too. But whenever I was around my grandparents, they definitely encouraged me to do that stuff a lot. And so it was about, I don't know, I was just casually playing all throughout middle and high school and stuff like that. And then in high school I joined a band called Red Couch, and that was the first time I ever really was trying to be serious. I mean, we were still idiots, we were 17.
What were the origins of Red Couch as the name of the band?
We don't even know.
Was there a specific couch?
Ben has a couch in his basement, but also I don't even think that's why he picked it. The only reason he picked the name Red Couch was because we were on the phone interviewing for a high school Battle of the Bands thing, and they were like, "Yeah, so what's your band name?" And we didn't have a band name, so Ben just kind of looked over and was like, "Red Couch."
Green Lamp.
Yeah, it could have been some other really random thing. Yeah.
Those high school bands, man,
Dude,
the
they're
names
fun.
get pretty crazy.
Oh yeah. Well, so how'd you end up in Nashville?
I visited Belmont junior year, and I'd always wanted to go to school out of state, just to kind of get out and experience some new places and stuff. My parents encouraged that too, because both of them stayed really local throughout college and other schooling. So I think they wanted me to kind of not do that and actually explore some new territory or whatever. And this other girl in my church just graduated there for, I guess, 3 years ago, or a year before I came. And her dad is another player at the church, so he was like, you gotta check out Belmont, And I was like, whenever he told me that, I was like I don't know, too young to really care about maybe doing music stuff. So I was like, whatever, yeah, I'm gonna play lacrosse somewhere cool. That was what I wanted to do until probably senior year of high school. But But yes, I visited once and I fell in love with Nashville. Not even as much Belmont. It was really mostly just like Nashville was really sweet.
We can both relate to that, I think.
No, that's definitely cool. And,
but I do love Belmont. Belmont's sweet.
I think it's a unique, like, for a lot of people that like started doing music in like a church environment, because it was like, oh, like that's like your first like platform almost.
Yeah.
Like I had a similar experience,
absolutely.
and like
Very
they let me like
supportive platform,
mix
too.
like for like Sunday worship stuff, and that's like the first time I learned how to do live sound and like you know, whatever else. But it's cool to like, I don't know, probably not cool to most people.
I think also something about that's really cool about coming to Belmont in Nashville is that even if you're not trying to do the true Belmont thing and go into the music program and just like become a player, there's like this really interesting sort of extended community of people who are all playing music at house shows and at venues, and like people are very supportive of each other. So like you get to like play real shows pretty quickly and get introduced to a lot of new artists, and I don't know, just like a whole new side of things. And that was what was really cool to me about like when we were freshmen, you know, like the instant like part of, you know, just going and seeing bands play and being like, this is so cool. Like this isn't a normal college setting, which I think is what makes Belmont like special.
Yeah. I mean, I never, you know, it's cool. It's cool watching it all kind of play out, because being a junior now, everybody kind of knows who's actually trying to do it and who isn't.
Yeah.
You know, like freshman, sophomore year, everyone wants to do the artist thing or play or be in a band or all this, and then like life actually takes over later on in school, you know. And so like the 25 friends that used to be artists now are all just like trying to be in the industry somehow, and then there's like, you know, 4 or 5 of us that are still kind of like within my general friend group. I'm sure there's a lot of other artists, but
no, I think we kind of dealt with that too. It's like, I think that's a really kind of cool thing about Belmont is that everyone comes with, I think no matter what, if you're like in the music business program or an audio engineer or any of the just general like entertainment industry programs, everyone comes with some form of like a musical background, like I think has some form of a pipe dream to be an artist, and it shifts pretty quickly. And that was like a big like moment for George and I think was like, by the time we were sophomores, we were working with like you know, we had started to like play in bands, and it wasn't really playing in bands, it was like a band but not playing legitimate shows. And then also like, you know, working with people in some capacity, and they're realizing that there was like a need for all these kids who were in this greater community who were making really good music to have some way for it to like be delivered to people outside of Belmont or outside of Nashville. And like,
absolutely.
And that was like, I think there's so many people like that at Belmont who see all the different moving parts of the music industry and like decide to do something different, whether it's run a record label or do PR, or become a producer or an engineer. And I think that's really cool, because you come out like I feel like now we've come out of Belmont and we have this sort of huge friend group of people, and every person is doing something different, whether it's they're in a band or an audio engineer. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and like I think the community around Belmont, and like something that really attracted me to it was like it opened my eyes to a lot of those things, you know, like before when you're, you know, a young like aspiring musician, like that's the only thing, you know, and like you guys are talking about everyone wants to be the artist, and you don't really understand the multifaceted like environment that is the music industry before then. But like you're saying, like our circle of friends, and then like our just like broader network because of Belmont and because of the city of Nashville overall, I think like is a great thing to be a part of, and like really cool to watch people do their thing, because like in the music community here, I feel like there are the people that appreciate everything, even if it's not like their like cup of tea, whatever like they listen to personally, but like they can appreciate that and like help you in whatever way that they like operate in the industry, you know.
For me, I always thought it was doing the whole DIY thing forever. until I got to school where I realized that people actually did the things that I've been doing, just only like one side, like one little portion of it as like their careers. I thought was like so crazy that all this stuff that I think that I have to do on my own, there's people that are literally devoting their entire work careers to the one little section of it. So it kind of opened my eyes to building, trying to build more of a team around the stuff as opposed to trying to do it all myself or, with a small group of people, but just like starting to really understand how all of that gets distributed amongst talented people in different areas. Cause everyone's got strengths in that sense. So
Definitely.
The behind the scenes,
behind
the music VH1 doc people.
Well, yeah, and from our end, I think I like the way that I was introduced to you was through another artist that we work with, Kayla, who I remember it was probably a little over a year ago. I was like, oh, gosh, we're working with some people right now, and like there's a lot of people that I love, and we have like a working relationship with them, but like I want to know like who is the kid in your grade, Kayla, that's new and like everyone is just like blown away by. And she was like, I remember she was like, I really don't have that many recommendations. The only person I can recommend is Blake Ruby. And I was like, oh, cool. And I like immediately was like, yeah, I'll check it out. And then it was funny. It was like over the course of the next few months, it was like very naturally we ended up in the same room a lot of times.
Yeah, it was weird actually.
Yeah, and like whether it was like another one of our artists who was from out of town, Ginger Root playing a show with y'all,
which was also so random and weird.
Yeah, crazy.
Who booked that? Who booked
it? You did? I hit him up not even knowing that he was like anything related to you guys.
Really? Okay, nice.
And then also because I found him from Kayla had like a playlist on her. It was when she dropped Heavy or around then. I think. Or honestly, might have even been way before then. But I was listening to one of her songs, and then I looked at one of her playlists, and I heard one of his. I think it was Two Step.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, okay, this is actually super sick. And so I just hit him up. I was like, if you're coming to Nashville anytime, just let's play a show. And I had just been talking to Phil about doing a house show right around then, and he was like, yeah, I'll be in town for like a whole week. In like a week, it was like 2 weeks from then. I was like, word, let's do it. And that house show was actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was great, and
it was a pretty sweet show.
That was really cool to watch because during that time Cameron was in town and playing solo, not his full band set, and that was his first time that we had met in person. Like we had been working together on things for over a year by that point, and we had only met each other through the internet, like over the phone.
That's so crazy.
And so it was cool to see, like it sort of bridged the gap between two very different worlds. But then after that, I remember we had just like run into each other a bunch of times. And then I helped Jackson Wooten put on Hooroo Fest a little bit, like sponsor it and stuff.
That was fun.
And I don't know, I was so blown away by like your performance, and it was really cool because it was like, we always talk about this, we're like, Belmont, it feels like every grade has like the kid, like in our grade, it's like our good friends Wilder, who are now Betcha. They
changed their name.
Yes,
they had the official name change show last night at their house.
Last night.
Okay, yeah. Somebody else said that they were going to that, but it looked pretty sweet. But was that a label thing, you think, or is that them?
That was just them. I think.
I like it. It's cool.
But like with each grade, I feel like there's like the kid that like, no matter what show they play, like if it's a band or an artist, like people come out in droves to see them. Like older than us, there was like Lonely Biscuits and
like Waker Koa,
yeah. And so it was really interesting because like, I'm not trying to like discredit any of those bands, but like they're, it makes sense why so many people like them, because they like make good quality music and it like appeals to a bigger audience. And like what I was blown away by was like coming to your show is like you're like doing like jazz changes and like really jamming, and I'm like, dude, Belmont kids are getting down to this like in a warehouse in East Nashville that's like packed. And it was really cool, and I was like, well, that's just a sign to me that if he can hit up 20-year-old kids in Nashville who are studying music at Belmont, and most likely they usually have a good taste in music, but like,
Yeah.
you know, the type of music you're making doesn't necessarily overlap with that. The fact that people are that into it was so impressive to me, and that was sort of like when we started to talk about, you know, how we could fit into the puzzle with you and stuff.
Yeah.
And with you.
I just remember the phone calls over the summer, and every time I was on the phone with you, I was like weeding or doing yard work. I don't even know if you
yeah,
know
I remember that.
But yeah, I was working I just had like headphones on, and I would call up Dan because I'm like, I don't know what else to do right now. Like, let's get this shit rolling, you know. And so I would just be like carrying a wheelbarrow around the yard, just like, yeah, man. Like, but, you know, just talking about stuff. But I don't know if you knew that. That's
no, I remember you'd be like, sorry, I'm finishing some yard work right now.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, like in the yeah. But so basically, you sent us a collection of songs that you wanted to be a project, and I was instantly like, this is awesome. And it was a lot different than, it's not like it's out of the world different, like in a bad way. It's just a lot different than what we've released before, and that was super exciting to me. And so I guess we started working like with the thought of putting out a single first, and that was Adam and Eve, which I think would be a really good song to play for everyone. But I'd like to hear maybe a little bit of a background on that song and where it comes from for you and stuff.
Yeah, that was probably the first song. Actually, not the first song, but not the first song that I've written that's on the album, but it's the song that kind of like inspired and spearheaded the rest of the songs. Kind of like I wrote "Summer Days," which is a song that's coming out towards the end of my freshman year, but Adam and Eve was over that summer, and it was literally just. It kind of, I wrote it in like 10 minutes. It was really weird. Like I had the progression for a little while and stuff, but it was literally just because I was reflecting over the summer and just how I wasn't using my phone at all, pretty much. I wasn't on the internet at all. I was kind of like taking a break from all of that, and it helped me kind of see how much that was distracting me before I took a break from it. I didn't realize how distracting it was, and how like it was kind of negatively impacting my actual relationships with people, because I'd be hanging out with people and just be like on my phone.
I mean, one thing is like you check the battery in your settings or whatever, and you can see how many minutes and hours you spend on each like app. And that like did it for me. Like I deleted a bunch of social media because I was like, oh my God, this is so much time.
Yeah,
you know?
dude, it's crazy. And social media is amazing. And there's so much amazing stuff you can do. But I just think it's really toxic how people really put most of their thought and time into crafting their image for other people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
the virtual
it's not
image.
like it's not like even that they're sharing because they're excited or proud or whatever of what's going on. Because sometimes that is the case, but most of the time, and I do it too, just to kind of like, you know, quote unquote, keep building a brand or whatever. But there's like people that are just doing it because it fills them up, you know, not even because they have to. Mm-hmm. I know so many people that will just like be, you know, constantly posting or, you know, doing the social media thing with no gains other than to just get like a lot of likes or comments or whatever. It's wild, bro. It's like, and I'm sure that there was stuff going on before social media, like actual social media that was similar to that, you know, that people did. But
so how did that like inspire like the music? Like what would you say? Like lyrically, did you have some concepts in there that like contain those kind of things, those ideas?
Yeah, there's a lyric in there that's like oh shoot, I can't even like think of oh yeah, I need a vacation, I can't even see the stars, your light pollution dulls the pain of my invisible scars. And that was like the star, you know, seeing the stars is in like, you know, dreams and goals or whatever. And then like, you know, like light pollution is like blocking that. And the light pollution was like kind of a direct reference to just like my phone.
The screen.
Yeah, to the screen of my phone.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's like honestly that both of those verses are kind of stuff. The first verse is way more about like my experience with social media, or my just experience with being distracted from things that I think are important to me. And then the second one was just seeing how it was distracting everybody else from that same thing, pretty much. And it's like a weird dialogue because I kind of wrote it from like the chorus is from like a godly perspective almost of like, or you know of you know however you want to think of that, but of people, you know, like you need that reassurance from something that it doesn't actually matter, because otherwise, like if everybody else thinks it matters, or you know, then it will, you know, it'll, you know, creep into your life. Yeah, exactly. But the verses were just about me kind of dealing with that and thinking about it actually for once, and not just kind of going through everything. But
okay. Yeah.
I don't know if that made any sense.
No, that makes sense.
Great.
I think let's play the song and listen to it and give it a little more context for the listeners.
Here's the
out
first
there.
single from Blake Ruby's upcoming record, Adam and Eve.
Take the time I need anymore. I'm getting churned up by the washing machines. You got me losing my mind over things that I didn't ever really need. I need a little vacation. I can't even see the stars. Your light pollution dulls the pain of my invisible scars. And it's amazing how people just get trapped in the lies. I'm paralyzed. Take your time, I'm with you. Things are just fine. Just walk with me through the storm. I know you feel trouble, rightfully so, but it's time for you to grow. It's much too late for me to think with my head, so I guess my heart has just decided to scream. Intentionality's such bullshit when you don't even try to get back up on your feet. Which one you gonna pick up? Your sword and follow me. I guess not many, 'cause the fruit don't fall real far from the tree. Wipe off the makeup. Adam and Eve, I cannot breathe. Take your time, I'm with you. Things are just fine. Just walk with me through the storm. I know you feel trouble, rightfully so, but it's time for you to grow. Grow.
So that was Adam and Eve by Blake Ruby. Why don't you? I don't know. I think the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear that song is just like there's a lot going on musically that's really interesting, and it, like, for me, the fact that it has, like, you know, moments of jazz influence and R&B influence and so many other things. Like, where do you think your sound sits, like, as an artist?
I don't know. Sometimes I definitely have like ideas of where I want to take things in a more direct way, but shown by, you know, in terms of this album, it kind of goes a lot of different places. But I definitely think that the one thing that stays consistent is the value of like a song and like songwriting, because all of it is really intentional. All of what I'm trying to do and say is all pretty like intentional and coherent. But I don't know, because there are songs that are, you know, so different than that one on the record, or that I am writing now, or, you know, and there's some that are really similar. I'm just influenced by so many different musics already that.
Well, then I'd say, like, talk about that a little bit. Like, what on the album, like, can you point to as like a direct influence, like even for just like Adam and Eve?
Adam and Eve, I was listening to a lot of like neo soul stuff. I was kind of like starting to get into that. I was starting to get into
Soulquarians.
Yeah,
Hiatus Coyote.
Trying to get it. Yeah, Hiatus Coyote, Jordan Rakai.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
probably one of my favorite artists
He's cool.
right now.
I actually, it's funny. We were at a party last night, and a guy that we're good friends with came up to me out of nowhere and was like, "Dude, this Blake Ruby song is really great." He was like, it's like Tom Misch, but like even more like musically interesting, and it's not like, it doesn't feel like, he was like, I don't feel like he's like co-opting like R&B and jazz things to make a pop song. I feel like he's co-opting pop things to make an R&B and a jazz song, which I thought was cool. I was like, I was like, damn, I've been trying to figure out how to describe this to people, and that's
really
like
cool.
the best way I've heard someone describe it.
Yeah, well, I think that's so true, because like I said, like I loved just the art of a song, like a song being, you can make it, like, especially being a solo artist, I don't have as many filters like as a band would, you know. I can make a song sound however I want, which I like, that's like so fun for me. So I can make a song that sounds like that, and then I can make a song that's like me with an acoustic guitar, or like with samples and synths, you know. I don't really have you know, as much of a, you're
not putting parameters
exactly
on, like,
yeah, and
the music.
and it's, I think the one thing that keeps everything together is that first off, I think my voice kind of ties everything together, and then also just lyrically.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like there's such a strong, like, you have such a strong style in the way that you present things, like your storytelling and your like tendencies in writing are really interesting, and do sort of juxtapose musically what's happening a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's probably that's sometimes one of my favorite things to do, is to make a song sound either so different or so coherent with what I'm saying, just to kind of make a point.
Yeah, I feel like this song is really interesting because at the start, musically, how it evolves, I feel like at the start, where it is lyrically and where it is musically is like a different plane. And then I feel like by the end of the song, when you're playing that sort of falling piano part that's like almost like, it's like it gets like incoherent, like this beautiful piano part, I think that's sort of like aligns with this, maybe the feeling or how I react when I hear lyrically what you're saying, because it is totally different than like there is a good variety of things going on, and that, I think that's like the best music.
Yeah. What's crazy about that song too is it's only 4 instruments. Like in my head, I always wanted it to be this big production, like this big produced song with a lot of synths and a lot of like background, or, you know, other parts that, you know, other things in it. But every time I tried to add stuff to it, I was just kind of taking away from the beauty of this like live raw sound that it had.
Yeah.
Well, that piano is so big, you know, like the sound of that just like really encompasses the whole song.
Yeah, and the guitar too. I think the guitar, Walsh Kunkel played the guitar on that, and the band
That's
on that
an
song
amazing
is nuts.
name.
Yeah, Walsh is the man, and and Ben Reeve played drums on that track, and then my buddy Tim Houston played Fender Six in the bass on that song, and those guys are all so much doper than me musically, like so much. Yeah, and so they really brought that track to life super hard, because they were the first people I ever played, like jammed the song with, was those guys.
wow.
The first time over the winter when we were trying to put shows together, and they just nailed it. And we tracked that live, and Ben even tracked the drums live the first time, but I didn't record it well enough, so he overdubbed. I went back and overdubbed my keys at the Hoos, and on their piano at like 1 a.m. or whatever. And I just kept that, so it really did even start from just like us in my basement, just like going at it. And I kept the guitar and bass because the takes were nuts. And I don't know anybody who plays guitar like Walsh. He's got such a unique style, and Tim's style on the Fender Six. That's why that song sounds so cool and weird, is because they don't play like normal guitar players.
Aliens.
Yeah,
They're
no,
aliens,
I'm
man.
serious, dude. It's crazy. They're nuts, and that's probably. I mean, that's really why it sounds so huge. Is because spatially we could do a lot with it, because there wasn't as much filling the song like part wise.
Nothing's like getting in the way.
Yeah,
of other
so
things.
me and Kuj automated a lot of stuff into that song to make it bigger.
Well, I think what's interesting, having heard the whole record and I heard a lot of the songs, is that there's those moments where it does feel like a live tracked record, and it feels like there's a lot going on musically that's just like a live performance. But then there's other moments where it feels super vulnerable, and it feels like something that you made in your bedroom by yourself. And I think that is really cool. And like, what songs, maybe like feel that way to you more so than
like the more gentle kind of sounding ones, or the ones that you mean like just like the ones that are more personal to me, or
I guess I mean like what like I Don't Mind, for example, to me like has such a different vibe.
Yeah,
because it's so like just the way that everything happens in it just feels totally different. And I was just curious, how that, like recording stuff like that where it's a lot more just you doing everything versus having this whole squad of people playing like live.
Yeah.
How that's sort of crafted and come together on the album.
Yeah. I think it's been interesting the way it's gone. Is the songs that are the most personal to me are the ones that I've mostly just worked on myself. And like, just, that was not even, that was just like a coincidence. Like there's a lot of, like, I Don't Mind's one, Hurricane is one where I did most, I think I did, Quinn played a little guitar on that one, but those two songs I have the most of me playing on. And those are definitely the most like personal songs.
Well, I think it'd be a good time to give a little bit of I Don't Mind, and then maybe we can talk a little bit more about that song and
sounds
everything
good.
else. So here's I Don't Mind off of Blake Ruby's upcoming record.
You're the personification of a melody, a good one too, the kind that gets stuck in my head so often now that I don't know what to do. But the lyrics that you represent, they help me carry on, so I don't mind. You're the envisionment of a fairy tale, the kind that makes me cry. And even though I think I'm too old for a children's book, I get swept up by the plot lines. But you bring me back to old memories of timeless afternoons, so I don't mind. I don't mind all these trials and tribulations. I don't mind feeling hopeless for a while. I don't mind understanding that I won't have consolation, but sometimes good reason's hard to find. You're like a dreamer's conversation that goes late into the night. And even though I got work in the morning, I'm hypnotized by the moonlight. my family apart, and they tried so desperately to pick up the pieces, but they didn't know quite where to start. But buried deep underneath all the sadness, there is a peace in all of their hearts, so I don't mind. I don't mind all the lack of rhyme or reason. I don't mind all these lazy afternoons. I don't mind understanding that my life may have its seasons, but I hope my spring is coming soon.
So that was I Don't Mind, the upcoming single from Blake Ruby. We got you guys a little preview of that song. Blake, what do you want to say about that one? Because it's definitely contrasting styles with Adam and Eve, and like there are different influences on that one. What would you say? Like
the intro of that song is a direct rip from Wilco. Like, absolutely. The intro, one of my favorite Wilco songs.
Don't say its name.
One of my favorite Wilco songs does that, and you can go check it out for yourself. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved that intro so much. It just came out in the song. It wasn't even intentional. I like wrote that song and I started arranging it and everything, and then I heard that song again in the car a couple days later, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally ripped the beginning of my song from this, like, completely. but that song just I wanted to just have a song on there that was that said a lot about like my personal experiences of like relationships I've had, but how like sometimes, you know, things are so crazy in the moment and there's like a lot of emotions involved in something, but when you can kind of take the moment to look back on it, you realize that everything's cool. You know, it was just kind of like that sort of anthem of everything's going to be cool, even though life is nuts sometimes. And I think the music really kind of helps like convey that, because the whole song kind of just chugs along the whole time, and then the slide guitar comes in and it sounds really awful but beautiful at the same time. That's kind of what I wanted it to be, like really like hard to listen to for a moment and then kind of like relieve you.
That's awesome.
So that's probably one of my favorite parts of the whole record, is like that moment where everything stops and the guitar comes in and it's just like, whoa. Everyone who hears it for the first time just kind of gets really uncomfortable.
it's kind of like the sound of like that drunk ominous dude walks in the room.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh.
Literally, yeah. And then everything just comes back in so great, and that one was one of my favorites to arrange. But yeah, I'm really excited for this song.
Yeah, so why don't you just I think we're gonna finish up the podcast here, but why don't you just let everyone know what's on the docket for you and what's to come in the next few months on everything.
I just want as many people who can hear the songs to hear them. You know, I think that they're they're, you know, fun enough and interesting enough musically, but also I have a lot to say, and I really hope that people, you know, will dig into that. And I really hope I can kind of broaden the you know, the range and demographic of people that are listening to it, from just like a casual college audience to like a more mature group of people too, maybe, or just a broader audience of the Nashville area as opposed to just the Belmont community right now and my friends back home. And just kind of, I just want to keep pushing outwards to reach the right people, because the songs are really, really meant for certain people. I think like not everybody's going to listen to this record. I know that not everybody's going to love it, but there's going to be people I think that really love it. Because that's how I listen to music. Is I dig really hard into artists and stuff, and I would just love for somebody to do that with my music and just like really get into it and get inspired by it and stuff like that. But
That's awesome. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in and listen to us talk to Blake Ruby. Have a good rest of your day.
Episode 2.